Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, C. Raj Chavla, Vice Chairman, MSME and Startup Committee of ICI. Welcome you all. I also welcome my Chairman, C. Dheeraj Khandelwal ji, the man in the MSME and Startup, very popular in India. Today we have discussion on government scheme in support of MSME in India. And today we have with us as a speaker CA Parul Agrawal ji and coordinator CA Gaurav Satija ji. So friends, in Indian economy, MSME represent the vibrant thread that weaves together innovation, entrepreneurship, and economic development. MSME are the backbone of our Indian economy, contributing significantly to GDP, fostering employment opportunity, and driving social economic progress across the nation. As we know that the government of India has recently expanded the definition and threshold for the MSME sector to include the service sector. The expansion make a significant and commendable step forward. The government is actively promoting the growth of MSME sector through a various range of schemes and benefits aimed at safeguarding its interest. Initiative like the Prime Minister Employment Generation Program, Credit Guarantee Trust Fund for Micro and Small Enterprises, and Interest Subsidy Eligible Certificate. These are in place for this purpose. Additionally, recently, efforts such as Emergent Credit Line Guarantee Scheme have played an important role in the facilitating the rapid recovery of the Indian economy post COVID-19. Government schemes serve as catalyst for growth, providing financial assistance, technical support, and infrastructure development to MSME. Our discussion today is solely on academic exercise. It is a sincere commitment to the prosperity and well-being of millions of MSME, entrepreneurs, and workers. For variable insight into this subject, so our speaker will explain everything. And now I request my chairman, C.A. Dheeraj Khandelwal ji, to please give welcome address to this program.
First of all, thank you, Raj Chavla ji. And first of all, friends, wanted to acknowledge his effort of the Raj Chavla ji, being as a vice chairman. And today there's functions in his family. His own daughter marriage is there today, and in spite of that, he is serving to the profession. That's the important part. Today evening he's having a marriage at home, and he's just attending the this webinar from the hotel premises. So thank you, Raj Chavlaji, for briefing this particular webinar. I think that's important part for the MSME is to have growth aspects into the country GDP contributions. And government has laid out a lot of initiatives and come out various programs and sponsors schemes in support of the MSME. And generally, I've seen that hardly people are aware of it, how to apply for the MSME benefits, what are the benefits are there. So sometimes people had read on the newspaper, but they are not having much integrities about the details of the program, subsidies and schemes. And today we have the speaker Parul Agrawal, who going to be brief about the Prime Minister Employment Generation Program, and she also going to take about the CGT, MSME, and interest subsidy eligibility. Friends, I want to brief that I met CGT, MSME, MSE, Chairman Sandeep, and where we had a one program with him also, wherein he mentioned that the guarantee schemes are available up to the 5 crore rupees. Previously, it was for 2 crore rupees. Now, just 75% guarantees are given by the CGT, MSE, and 25% bank and NBFC can give it. And this is one of the best example. The MSME without having collaterals, without having past records, can apply for the CGT MSME scheme. but there we have find some difficulties wherein banks is still not allowing to the eligible people of for this particular funding. And I connected with the various banks people also, highlighting that government has came out this scheme. Let's give the eligibility or give the approval for in this area. And I'm hoping that government coming that scheme, and as well as I talked to the CDB, wherein the CDB agree in agreement to come out a fund. If the bank is not allowing that, at least the CDB can give it sanction particular fund to the MSME. So these are the things are there. About the interest subsidy scheme, everyone aware of that, interest subsidy schemes are there. And even in the exports also, interest subvention schemes are there for the MSME, micro and small enterprises, not medium, but micro small enterprises. There are schemes are available, and a lot of exporters are taking the benefit. That's a very good part. But still, the new entrepreneur, those are coming. They should know that they can leverage particular export interest in subsidy scheme, interest subvention scheme into the organization, so that they can be very competitive with the other company. So I think a lot of things are there. The emergency credit line guarantee schemes are there. A lot of MSME and startup things schemes are there, where the Parul going to take up the through with their presentation. And I hope that it's going to be a complete a knowledgeable session, and you can ask the certain questions. She going to be ex tempo, and wherein she will provide you the detailed insight of the various other scheme also. So I hope this session going to be enriched to the all members. With this, thank you everyone, and I welcome the Parul Agarwal. She's from the Delhi, very eminent speaker in the different vast area of the area, and also Gaurav Satija, who going to coordinate particular this particular event. So over to the Gaurav to take through this particular webinar.
Thank you very much, sir. C. Dheeraj Khandelwal, sir, and Raj Chawla, sir. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to all of you to this session dedicated to MSME Pathshala series. The MSME basically is the heartbeat of our economy right now. Before we kickstart our exploration into the crucial sector, I want to express my once again heartfelt thank to ICA MSME committee for giving us wonderful opportunity. For many of us, I think this term MSME and startup might be new, and it's our privileges to have here and eager to learn under the guidance of CA Dheeraj Khandelwal, sir, chairman of MSME and startup committee, and Raj Chawla, sir, vice chairman of MSME and startup committee of ICI. Without further delay, let's dive into the enriching session. And thank you once again for being here. Let's make this session truly impactful. Now, I am delighted to welcome CA Parul Agarwal, ma'am, an expert in MSME sector, to share her knowledge and insights with us. Ma'am will talk about all the government schemes in India that will support for MSME. I am confident that we will gain valuable knowledge after this session. Uh, ma'am, ma'am is a qualified chartered accountant with over 19 years of experience advising client in taxation, exchange controls, accounting standards, corporate law. She advising non-resident individuals, high net worth individuals, Indian Indian startups and multinational corporates on double taxation, treaties, incorporation, due diligence, transfer pricing, corporate tax and accounting standards. Ma'am has formerly worked with EY and PwC also in the area of direct tax, FEMA and transfer pricing. After spending a decade in Big Four, ma'am founded her own CA firm in 2050 with the name of Parul Agarwal and Associates, backed with an experienced team of professionals catering to different legal compliance and litigation aspects of business of our clients. With the professional prowess gathered over close to 2 decades, ma'am believes in sharing her knowledge, and as a part of her knowledge sharing initiatives, ma'am regularly participates and speaks at various forums, both business focused and with the legal fraternity also. Since 2011, ma'am has penned several articles, opinions, and white papers analysis report on various tax and regulatory matters. Ma'am endeavors to protect client interest and help them to seamlessly steer through the complexity of over evolving accounting and legal landscape of our country. And once again, welcome ma'am, welcome Parul ma'am. Over to you. You can start now formally. Hello.
Yeah, thank you, Gaurav ji. Thank you, Dheeraj ji. Thank you, Raj sir. Especially, it's your daughter's marriage, and you have, taken out time to contribute to this session. Thank you, everyone, for this great opportunity that you are giving me. So, let's not call me the expert in MSME because I would say that as my career is progressing, I am also witnessing the change in the MSME industry and the way different schemes are being launched right after the 2014. I've just been keeping a watch and just been analyzing it in my own way, and also proposing to certain clients of mine who are also in the MSME sector. So all I can do in this session is to share my experience, and my apologies for not bringing in the PowerPoint presentation here, because see, it's an informed call that I took, like few months back, that probably reading out from the PowerPoint presentation might not be the best approach, and therefore I want to take my sessions sharing my experience, what I have gained by serving the clients, by pitching for the clients, and then probably also hoping that it is useful for the other members, that they gain something out of my experience, or probably it is useful to others. So that is the agenda, and that's why it's been quite a while now that I've only been writing the research papers and doing very less of PowerPoint presentation work. So my apologies for that. But without further ado, let's start today's session on MSME. So, as the name suggests, it's a micro, small, and medium industry which accounts for more than 70% of the total economy of our country, and they are major contributors to the GDP. Actually, the backbone of the economy, I would say. And in this respect, we should also be aware of the ever-changing definition of MSME. So, so for instance, if I talk about the actual definition of MSME, we would say, then I think most of the members here are aware, but it's important at the cost of repetition to repeat it again. So if uh, if an industry, if a company happens to have plant and machinery, which the investment in the plants and machinery is equal to 1 crore, and the turnover is less than or equal to 5 crores, then it falls into the category of a micro industry. For the small industry, the threshold is less than 10 crore or up to 10 crore investment in the plant and machinery, and then up to 40 crores of turnover, or up to 50 crores of turnover. I'm sorry, 50 crores of turnover. And for the medium-sized enterprises, the threshold for plant and machinery investments is up to 50 CR, and for turnover it is up to 250 crores. So this is the revised limit which I'm talking about. Even though the act came in 2006, this is the latest limit that we adhere to. And before I start with the actual nuances of the funds or the government schemes which are there, let us little bit talk about and touch upon the problem areas which the MSME faces, because that will give us a perspective as to how the government schemes may benefit the MSMEs, and what the actual problem areas still today are, what the institutions are doing, what is expected, what is the expectation of the MSME. That's very important to understand that this ratio, this demographic, because only then we can really appreciate the practicality of a particular MSME government funding scheme. So let's start with the very basic thing. I'll just take a very practical example here, that majority of the MSMEs are in today's date and time also unregistered. When I say unregistered, then it has a repercussion. The repercussion is that they generally do not have access to government grants, access to subsidies, because of them being unregistered. So when I say unregistered, it's a very broad term. it doesn't mean only that an enterprise is a sole proprietor and they just happen to have a bank account. It also suggests that there are several types of registrations which are there in our economy, in our tax system. One of the registration could be obtaining of PAN. Another form could be obtaining of the Udyam Aadhaar card. This is also a requirement, as most of us members are now aware, because there's been a lot of talk around this section 43BH, where for the eligibility criteria, apart from the definition of MSME, is also that you ought to have a Aadhaar Udyam registration. So that is one aspect. Then there are certain other eligibility registrations which are required. For instance, if you are in a partnership firm, then it should be a registered partnership firm. It shouldn't be a it should be a registered partnership firm. It shouldn't be a plain partnership firm. And if you are a company, then of course you are eligible, but you got to have a DPIIT registration. So this DPIIT registration also plays a very crucial role in certain government schemes, like the credit guarantee scheme that Dheeraj was just talking about. So yeah, so for being eligible, you got to be registered, and you got to be registered at the right forum, at the right place. That is what is the need of the hour is. And that's why the first pain point that the MSMEs face today is that most of them are unregistered or not rightly registered. So if you're having a plain partnership firm, but you're not registered as a partnership firm, then your eligibility points go down. If you are registered as a company, but you're not registered as a with the DPIIT, then your eligibility for certain government schemes, government funding schemes comes down. If you are a startup, for an eligible startup, if you are registered with DPIIT, but you're not registered with the income tax, then again your eligibility falls. So therefore, I would suggest that for any startup, becoming eligible is the first step, and one should really invest into, getting the eligibility criteria correct. There are also certain schemes which are centric towards women entrepreneurs. So you have to see that you are a woman entrepreneur and you are able to avail that scheme. So accordingly, you have to really, study this ecosystem well of the funding schemes which are available, and also check the eligibility criteria way before you start operating as an MSME or developing your turnover, or you're investing in the plant and machinery. You must firstly you must have a gain an understanding of what the actual eligibility requirement is. So the second point that's very crucial here is that most of these eligibility criterias, most of these registration processes are online. So it's very important that one is aware of the online the interplay of the online availability of resources firstly, and secondly the interplay of technology in your given stream of work. For example, let's talk about the presently what happens in the funding situation, in a funding scenario. In typical funding scenario is that most of the startups, or most of the MSMEs, so to say, they do not have a totality of, most of their turnovers are not being in the books. So if most of your turnover is not on the books, then probably you are going to face the issue of improper books of accounts, and therefore it's tougher for them to become eligible, even for the MSME criteria, to be able to gain that funding. So this is one of the challenges, one of the typical challenges which is there. Then the equity base of a particular startup is so many times it is inadequate, which leads to over leverage. Because if your equity is less and then you end up taking the loans, you got to cover the loans with the right amount of collaterals. So collateral is another thing which most of these city and these other institutions, they look at. So getting a free loan today is still, in today's date and time, it's a challenge, because most MSME funding schemes which are there, they give you collateral free loans only if you have a bill book to support it, firstly, or you have a good client, you know, good client, so to say, projections, good bill book which is being signed, I mean, signed contracts. We will discuss more about it when we talk about the working capital funding, working capital financing, or bridge financing. So these are very, very important things which typical MSME should keep in mind, that your equity should be rightly put in place. Many of the, now that the awareness is coming, now the awareness is getting increased. So now many MSMEs are looking at hybrid instruments like the CCDs or CCPs, which are there, so, which have a twin advantage of both the equity and debt, which people are taking, and it's the need of the hour. Because I tell you, even despite us having collateral free government funding schemes, to be able to get them, you got to have robust financials. You get to have all your turnovers rightly captured in the books, which generally is not the case. Uh, Informal lending by other money lenders, other stakeholders, are generally not on papers, not on the books. It doesn't reflect in the books. This also gives you very skewed ratio of the debt and equity. So, which is also a spoiler in so many cases. So, these are again the next steps, the practical ones, which one should keep in mind. Because it produces a level of difficulty in ascertaining the actual leverage value, that what the actual debt equity ratio in a particular company is. It gives you kind of a very hazy picture, and especially when you're taking the subsidy or you're taking the credit guarantee from an institutional investor. Then there's MSMEs today face a huge problem of receivables. So generally the collections are not on time, be it from the government sector, be it from the private sector. They are not done in a very methodical way also. Sometimes it's both the parties to be blamed. Sometimes the engagement letters are not in place to be able to bring that up on record. Even though in the MSME Act there is a change which is being proposed, there is an interest which will now be imposed on the overdue payments, and also parallelly in the Income Tax Act there will be a disallowance of expense. These are the government measures which are being taken, which are very much in the right spread, I would say. But still, much is in the hands of MSMEs to ensure that the books and the receivables are rightly captured. Firstly, secondly, the cycle of reminders, or the cycle or the getting into the engagement letter, all these things are sorted, because somewhere the corporate governance or somewhere the internal policies, even the MSMEs have to take charge. Only introduction of government policies won't help here. So that is another thing. Then the immovable collaterals. Mostly you would see the MSME companies. They are companies where you do not see much of a collateral, especially if it is a service company. Then probably there is not even a plant and machinery which is there. It's just a rental property which is involved, and very, very limited inventory, a very, very limited fixed assets ratio which is there. So accordingly, banks do not find, or the institutional investors do not find the right amount of collaterals in support of uh, you know against which to release the funds. So therefore, having a good customer base, having a good contract, or to be able to avail the working capital, or once one can see the receivable loans, one can have good contracts which are there in place, through which one can show the credibility, because collateral remains a problem even today, I would say. Most of these MSMEs are promoter driven. The reported financials and the actual state of affairs, there's a lot of gap in that. And also there is a problem of cash transactions which is there. So all of these result in collectively they result in creating an ineligibility for a particular startup. So these are certain challenges which the MSME generally face, even though, and that's why they go to the unorganized sector, and that's where they get the high cost of borrowing is involved. uh, Collateral free, generally collateral free funding has a high cost of borrowing. The rate of interest is way too much. And of course, speaking from a corporate governance perspective also, it's not the best deal, because the true picture of the state of affairs of the companies never come to light. And so these are the basics just wanted to touch upon. Also, before I actually start about the government schemes and I start with the actual processes, one thing, there's a silver lining here, just which I wanted to highlight, uh, before we jump on to the government schemes. That is the fintech NBFCs which are there, especially the fintech aggregators which are there, they are playing a very good role here. Because I tell you, in today's scenario, it is like there is a pool of money from different kind of investors, and there's actually a marketplace kind of a scenario where there's a meeting or matching of interest of both the investor as well as the MSME, which is at the other side of the this cash pool. So and most of these things are done through technology. So the best part here is not that there's a cash pool and not that there's a matching of the investor interest and the MSME interest, but the catch here is that out here the risk, which is the high amount of risk which is there in a particular MSME, that can be avoided by through this technology driven business model. Because what it essentially does is that the borrower registered on the platform, indicating their profile and the loan requirements, and accordingly they are given a credit score. And most of this credit score which is being provided, or the credit history, or whatever the salary payout is, this is all driven by data. This is all driven by AI, and this is all driven by algorithms. So the chances of human error here are lesser, and you can really rely on that data when the data on the AI when they're doing the matchmaking. So you can really rely on the IT algorithms which are into play here, which does the matching. So this is and eventually I believe right now it is with the fintech NBFCs. I think eventually if the institutions also adopt it, then probably it's a better situation for the MSME, and the funding scenario with the MSMEs is the point which I wanted to make here before I talk about the actual government schemes. Much about this would be covered in my presentation, which I'll be sharing also with the names of certain certain fintech NBFCs which are there in picture and which are doing good business in this space. So now, if you have any questions up till now, one can ask before I start with the actual government schemes. If there's anything anybody wants to ask, this also gives a message that been heard up till now. And before I proceed, Gaurav ji, any inputs?
Ma'am, actually, Divyang ji will receive all the queries on the ICA portal. If when they will send me queries, I will definitely tell you.
Okay, perfect. Actually, in a webinar, sometimes it becomes a little difficult because, yeah.
Gaurav ji, just give me a 5 to 10 minutes. I will share with you.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So let's proceed with the proceed with our government schemes. So primarily today I would be talking about the credit guarantee scheme, which is there, and what are the recent. Firstly, I give an overview of the existing schemes which are there. So generally, there are two kinds of divisions which are there when we talk about the organization structure of a MSME. One is a SME division, which is small and medium enterprise division. We also have a India SME forum, which caters to these SMEs in Delhi as well as in other states, and they cater to these SME startups or SME companies, so to say. There's some centers which also do the educational training for these SMEs. They handle the administrative supervision and the vigilance on these, on these SMEs. Then there are implementation of various schemes. So they also facilitate the implementation of these schemes. For example, there is this credit rating and assistance, the training institution. These kinds of schemes are there, which are very, very important for women entrepreneurs or for the rural. I would say the rural entrepreneurs who really require that training. For example, if you have to do an exports out of the country, you really require that wherewithal. So this SME forum, they really help you with that. Then there is a performance monitoring and evaluation system also in place at these nodal centers which are there, and they do that needful as well. Then there are the ARI division, which is the agro and rural industry division, where all these khadi and village industry commissions are covered, where the COIR board is covered, covering the Mahatma Gandhi Institute for Rural Industrialization, which is there. And they also supervise the implementation of the PM Employment Generation Program. So these are another set of category which is there. So broadly, we talked about two kinds of categories which are there. And then there is an integrated finance wing and the data analytics and technical collaboration wing, which also have their own set of functions to perform. So what are the main streams? What are the main schemes which are there in this agri, agri side of the schemes? They are the Prime Minister Employment Development of Khadi Village and Coir Industry Program. Then there's a technology upgradation and quality certification program which is there. The marketing promotion schemes are there. Entrepreneurship and skill development program is there. This is there here also and in the SME forum as well. Then there are the infrastructure development programs which are there. So let's also talk about the purpose of these schemes. So primarily the purpose of issuing and launching these schemes is to provide a good flow of credit from the financial institutions or the bank. The reason why they have to come up with schemes is that because the earlier pain points that I just talked about, which is that banks or institutions do not want to give funds to because SMEs are very high risk. The MSMEs and SMEs are very, very highly risky propositions. Giving collateral-free loan to them could be a very risky proposition for the bank or the institution. So generally the approach is risk averse. So therefore these schemes are being launched where the government has formed the trust or the government has formed certain bodies in which they have infused the capital to be able to provide the guarantee for certain eligible startups, to be able to provide the guarantee. I'm right now talking about the credit guarantee scheme. The guarantee for certain eligible MSMEs. So government is infusing the funds to be able to support the sector. So this is the idea behind it, because generally especially with the public banks and the institutional investors, they are risk averse. They don't want to take the highly risky proposition of investing into startups, MSMEs and SMEs. So therefore, this is the reason why we have why we have so many schemes which are there, which are being government funded. Second is the support for technology. Yeah, so this point was left out in the earlier introduction, which I just gave. So the support for technology government. So there are startups where, for example, let's talk about any EV startup, or let's even talk about the NBFCs, which are fintechs. So for them, for their propagation and their growth, the government really wants to support them, and therefore they have set in premium and very customized schemes which help them in propagating these schemes. Let's talk about FAME, for instance. So this FAME scheme is there for the EV industry, wherein government gives you subsidized loans and they give you the subsidized the subsidies being given to a manufacturer of EV who can utilize the subsidy, and so that they're able to sell cheaper products. So these kind of industry specific schemes are also being launched for the propagation and growth of a typical industry. For instance, let's talk about the EV industry or the fintech industry. Then integrated infrastructure facilities. So what do you need? For example, let's take the example of the service industry. Even though MSME has a less, MSME doesn't comprise that much. I mean, many of the schemes are not applicable to the service industry under the aegis of MSME funding schemes. But still, even for the certain so even for the service sector industry, service centric industries, there are certain infrastructure facilities which need to be provided. For example, the incubation centers are there, or there's other the other support which should be provided to them. So that is also on the anvil for the government. And that's why to give a push to them, they have customized scheme for even the service centric industry. Then modern testing facilities, the quality certification amenities, they are also on the top agenda of the government, due to which they have launched certain schemes, which we'll talk about later. Then access to modern management practices. So government has launched several portals. If you would see, so one of them is the GEMS portal. As being chartered accountants, we are aware of. So out there, what you see is that for the modern management, I mean, there are a set of experts who are registered there. There is also one wherein all these trademark the trademark practitioners or the intellectual property practitioners are being registered, and they give you very, very concessional rated services to these MSMEs and the startups. They are being propagated by the government so that the right management policies or the right management initiatives or the right professional help can reach to these MSMEs and the SMEs. So therefore, so if you look at it and when you compare it with what the government has launched, even apart from funding, let's say, then you will see the government wants to facilitate the startup. They want to facilitate the young entrepreneur. They want to facilitate the women entrepreneur, and in their quest, giving them a very adequate facilitation service, the right professional help, the right incubation, the right infrastructure support. What the government and that too at a very concessional rate. What the government is doing is they are infusing their own money. They are infusing their own capital. So that is the rationale behind the entire today's entire discussion, that we will just take it up. So there is a support for product development, design intervention and packaging. There is a support which is there for the welfare of the artists and the workers. There is assistance which is being provided for better access to domestic and exports market. There's export facilitation scheme which is there. You can now go and do various exhibitions overseas with a lot of push and a lot of concessional concessions or the subsidies being provided. Then there is a cluster-wise measure to promote the capacity building and empowerment of the units and their collectives. So there are entire cluster of industry or a cluster of a particular industry which are being aided by the government through their schemes. So let's talk about the direct benefit which the government is providing, which is being transferred to the MSMEs, which is, let's talk about the MSME Samadhan, which is to address the delayed, payment to the MSMEs. Here, no, sorry. So let's talk about the delayed payment issue, for which, as we earlier said, there is an interest which is being imposed in the MSME Act itself, and there is a disallowance under the Income Tax Act also, which will subsequently get allowed when you actually make the payment, when the enterprise actually makes the payment to the MSME. So these are certain initiatives which the government has taken. Then let's talk about the international cooperation which the government is taking up for the SME division schemes, which is so the government is deputing the MSME business delegations to other countries for exploring new areas of technological upgradation, facilitating the joint ventures, improving the markets for the MSMEs, and foreign collaborations. For this, the nature of financial assistance which actually the government is giving is the financial assistance up to 95% of the airfare and the space rent for the entrepreneurs, which again is a huge push, because 95% is that hardly 5% one has to invest, and 95% is taken care by the government. So the assistance is also provided on the basis of the size and type price which it is. So the assistance for common expenses of delegates, for delegations like freight, insurance, local transport, printing of catalog, etc. These are all which are covered. But again, there is an eligibility criteria here. The first and foremost is that it is restricted to certain state or central government organizations only, and then certain industry or enterprise associations, this is being restricted to, which are registered as a society or a trust or an organization, not as a private company. And these should also be associated with the promotion and development of MSMEs. So it is not open to all. So therefore, the reading of the fine print is very crucial here, because not all schemes are eligible to all types of MSMEs. You have a qualifying criteria which one must adhere to. Then there are certain training institutions which are there, for whom there is again a tailor-made scheme, tailor-made MSME support which is there, which is to impart the training institutions in the form of capital grants for creation and strengthening of the infrastructure and support for conducting entrepreneurship development and skill development for their training programs. Okay, so the eligibility, of course, is for the state, for the government training institutions or NGOs and other development agencies who apply for the assistance here for strengthening of the infrastructure. So the maximum assistance for creation or strengthening of infrastructure is 150 lakhs on the basis of matching criteria, and which does not exceed the 50% of the project cost. However, for the northeastern regions like Sikkim, Andaman and Nicobar, Lakshadweep, the maximum assistance on matching basis could be up to 90% of the project, or 2 lakh. So, Gauravji, just wanted to understand: is my voice audible to all?
Yes, ma'am. Audible.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So let's proceed with the most important scheme, which is the credit guarantee scheme. So this credit guarantee scheme is much talked about, and let's discuss this in detail. So this is a scheme which is being launched by the Ministry of MSME, Government of India, and SIDBI collectively. They collectively established a trust by the name of Credit Guarantee Fund Trust for the micro and small enterprises for implementing this credit guarantee fund scheme for the MSME. So the corpus is combinedly contributed by the Government of India as well as SIDBI. And I tell you, this is a very, very important scheme, I would say, because it's got a very limited window of application. So, for example, if you are a startup, or if you are say a small enterprise, and you want to avail the benefit under the scheme, then within the 2 years of your incorporation, you have to avail the scheme. And even before that, you have to obtain a DPIT registration. So as I said earlier, it's very important that you have the right choice of entity. You should be either an incorporated company, or you should be a registered partnership firm. And apart from that, even a DPIT registration is very crucial, especially for this scheme. And it can be availed only in the first 2 years of incorporation. So on the lapse of the 2 years, you are not eligible for this scheme at all. But it's a very crucial scheme, again, because it gives you that the guarantee against the loan which you are taking from the bank. And to back it up, the government has actually formed a trust where they have infused the funds to be able to support it. For example, what is the nature? So let's take what is the nature of assistance here. So there's a collateral-free loan up to a limit of 50 lakhs for each and every individual MSMEs. Okay, and this is the eligibility is for not even an existing enterprise, but even for a new enterprise. So the 50 lakh rupee of guarantee is a very good of a collateral-free loan is a very good support for any new startup which is there. And if you're unable to pay the loan back to the bank, then the guarantee is being provided by the SIDBI, by the trust, which is jointly being formed by the SIDBI and the Government of India. So this is a very important scheme. Major fillip to the MSME industry, major push which is there. But you have to be eligible. So the eligible criteria I already told you about, and it is also applicable to a certain types of enterprises only. So so you have to approach the banks or the financial institutions which are also cited in the scheme itself. All the banks, eligible banks or institutions are cited in the scheme itself, which are eligible under the scheme. and scheduled commercial banks, regional RRAs, the RRBs, the regional rural banks are also there. So you have to go to these banks and you have to apply. And accordingly, once you get the funding, then of course, if everything goes well, you pay up the scheme. If not, then the government pays or the government fulfills the guarantee which is being provided by under the scheme. And the eligibility criteria, the eligible amount is 50 lakh per MSME. So the next scheme that I want to talk about is the credit linked capital subsidy scheme, which is the CLCS scheme for the technology upgradation program. Out here, see, technology plays, as I said earlier, plays an important part uh, for for any eligible MSME or eligible startup, and this is a custom made scheme for the technology driven enterprises. So so what happens is that under this CLCS scheme, they present the technology level to a substantially
Ma'am, you are not audible. Hello. Hello.
higher to enhance their productivity techniques and people. They replace the existing equipment or technology with the same equipment or technology which will not qualify for the subsidy under the scheme. So what is actual 15% the MSE, including finance. There is a ceiling on the loans under the scheme, which has been raised from 40 lakhs to 1 crore, and the capital subsidy is calculated with the purchase price of plant and machinery instead of term loan dispersed to the beneficiary unit. Okay, so these are the Mudra loan. Then of course the threshold is for the small businesses again, but this is one step ahead because the threshold of the actual cash subsidy is much higher here. And even the best part under the scheme is that similar to the Mudra loan, the small proprietors, the partnership, the cooperative societies, the private, okay, they can also apply. So, and also there is a push for the women entrepreneurs. They are the priority. They are the priority here under this scheme. So women, as in the Mudra scheme also, the women are given priority. Women entrepreneurs. Similarly, in this CLCS scheme also, the women are given priority. And to be able to apply for this scheme again, all the eligible MSEs should approach the banks or the scheduled state financial corporations. So when you read the scheme document, you can very easily decipher and realize that most of the scheme have the eligible set of lenders, which are mostly your public sector banks, not private sector banks, and the institutional investors, which are there, that to the eligible fixed criteria. Sometimes they're the banks which are being launched by these institutional investors, especially catering to the needs of a particular scheme. A set of borrowers have been defined, the eligible set of conditions which are need to be fulfilled. For example, in the
Parul, ma'am, interrupt you. Is there any network issue? Because your voice is break regularly.
I don't see a network issue here. No, it's full network on my instrument.
Okay, please. Now you are audible. Please carry on.
Okay, yeah, it's a full network here where I'm sitting. Yeah. So now is it audible? Hello.
Yes, ma'am, it is audible.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So up till now, I think yeah. So I was talking about the credit linked capital subsidiary or the CLCS, and I was comparing it with the Mudra loan, and I was saying that just as in the case of a Mudra loan, you have the sole proprietors, the partnership firms, the cooperatives, the cooperative societies, and the women entrepreneurs being covered. Similarly, in the CLCS scheme also, you have all these set of entrepreneurs covered. Firstly, secondly, that in any given scheme document, when you read the document, one can easily see that there are certain defined category of eligible lenders, which is mostly the public sector banks, mostly the institutional investors or the banks or the financing institutions categorically being launched by these institutions for the limited purposes of the scheme. Then you have the eligible borrowers, which are also being defined. If there is any push to a particular industry, that is being defined. If the women entrepreneurs are particularly covered, that is also being defined. And thirdly, you have the eligibility criteria, which could be the time period, which could be driven by technology, which could be industry specific, or it could be relating to a particular section of entrepreneurs. So this is a typical scheme document, which it is for for all these schemes. Now, this I was talking about certain central schemes, which are applicable pan India. For example, the Mudra scheme or the credit guarantee scheme. Now, there are certain state funding schemes also, which are being launched by the particular government of a particular state, which are there. Like, for example, the Haryana government has their own set of funding schemes which are being launched. Similarly, Visakhapatnam, similarly, other states which are there. So each state also has their funding schemes, which are not covered within the scope of today's discussion. But this is just to touch upon, so that once we are exhausted with the central schemes, one can also look out for the state schemes to be able to better provide the assistance to the eligible MSEs or MSMEs. Just like we have for the UP government also, they've launched many schemes, the government funding schemes for the eligible borrowers. Now let's talk about the Development Commissioner DC MSME schemes, which is where the SMEs or the ancillary undertaking have acquired the ISO certification, and they're very specific ISO certification that we're talking about here, which is the ISO 9000, ISO 14001, or HACCP certification, which are there. So this scheme is enlarged so as to include reimbursement of expenses for acquiring the ISO 14001 certification. So when you take a ISO certification, the one which is specified in the scheme, whatever is your expense for obtaining it, that is taken care. And the reimbursement of charges for acquiring these certification is to the extent of 75% of the expenditure, subject to a maximum of 75,000 in each case. So which is again a big push for the companies which are into the quality standard, where they have to maintain a certain set of the quality standards which are there. So MSMEs are that are eligible to avail this incentive scheme. The scheme is applicable to those MSMEs or ancillaries or SSPs units who have already acquired this certification. Now, how do you apply for these? So you are required to submit the application duly completed to the local director or the MSME DI. Now let's talk about the entrepreneurial and managerial development of SMEs to the incubators. So as we are aware, the incubator programs are the talk of the town. They are, we see all across the incubators which are there. Many are there in and around Delhi NCR itself. Many in the smaller pockets of the far-fetched areas as well in the country. So what does this scheme activity entail? So it provides early stage funding for nurturing innovative business ideas. So the emphasis here is the innovative business idea, which also generates employment, and actual financial assistance is provided for setting up the business incubators. And this is where the government invests the money. The nature of assistance is upgradation of the infrastructure up to 2.5 lakhs, orientation and training programs up to 1.5 lakhs, administrative expenses. So the total assistance per BI is generally up to 70 lakhs per BI. And an individual or a MSME having innovative ideas ready for commercialization can apply for the host institution, which is the IIT, the NIIT, the technical colleges, and the research institutions, etc. For example, let's take the case of the Delhi IIT. So Delhi IIT also has their own incubator program where there are more than 100 startups which are there, and mostly they are driven by innovation because IIT Delhi is known for innovation only. So you will find, there are 100 plus startups which are there in-house. They are incubated there. They are given all kinds of infrastructural support, the training, the administrative expenses to enable them to create the state-of-art technology which is there. Then there is the IIM Lucknow Incubation Center in Noida, which is there. Again, the same thing is there. The infrastructure facilities are being provided to the eligible startups, and they are being even given sometimes the equipment loan up to 40 lakhs, which is the eligibility for, which is the subsidy for the eligible startups, which is being provided to enable them to function properly and to propagate in the most ideal fashion. Now let's talk about the National Small Industries Corporation schemes, or the NSIC schemes, which is the wherein the performance and credit rating is being provided. So here, what the scheme actually does is they establish independent, trusted third-party opinion on the capability and the credit worthiness of the MSEs, combination of credit and performance factors, including operations, finance, business, and management risk. And the nature of assistance is generally in the form of reimbursement of the fee from NSIC, up to 50 lakh rupees or 25,000, whichever is less. Above 50 lakhs, uh, above 50 lakhs or the fee of 30,000, whichever is less. This is the broad outline of the assistance which is being provided. Then any enterprise registered in India as a MSE is eligible to apply, and they have to apply before the NSIC. Now these NSIC schemes which are there, the other schemes which are there are the bank credit facilitation, the raw material assistance, the single point registration, the info mediatory services, the bill discounting which is there. So NSIC ka infrastructure, as we are aware, Delhi maybe there is a NSIC which is there, jahan par you have a exhibition hall, you have a IT incubator, you have an exhibition cum marketing development business park, you have exhibition grounds, like the Delhi NSIC has an exhibition ground. So if you're eligible for the subsidy at a very subsidized rate, you will get the stall, you will get the your area covered where you can launch the product or where you can have the exhibitions. Now let's talk about the Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program, or the PMEGP. This is a national level program which is being launched for the KVIC, or the Khadi Village Industries Committee. And this is a state level. This is KVIC Directorates, State Khadi and Village Industries Board, and District Industry Centers, DICs, and the bank. So these are the nodal agencies which facilitate this program. And the nature of assistance that they provide is that maximum cost of the project or the unit admissible in a manufacturing sector is around 25 lakhs. And for the businesses or services, it is centered around 10 lakhs. So the total project cost will be provided by the banks as a term loan or a working capital loan. Okay. So generally, for the general category, 10% is the eligibility criteria, and for the urban, it's 15%, and for rural, it is 25%. So this is the way they have bifurcated the ARI division schemes between the Prime Minister Employment Generation Program. So who are eligible to apply for the program? So any Indian citizen, any individual who is 18 years of age can apply. The beneficiary should have passed at least 8th standard for projects costing up to 10 lakhs in the manufacturing sector and above 5 lakhs in the business or the service sector. Okay, and only the new projects are considered for the sanction of the PMEGP scheme. The institution registered under the Societies Registration Act, production of cooperative societies and charitable trusts are also eligible. And the existing units, which are the existing state units or the government units which are there, who have already taken the government subsidiary under any other scheme are not eligible. So somebody who's already who's existing or who is taking any other subsidiary, they are not eligible for this scheme. And the state or divisional director of a KVIC, in consultation with the KVIB or the director of industries of the respective states, these are the nodal agencies where one needs to apply for availing the benefit under this scheme. Okay, now let's talk about the agro industry and the interplay of technology with the agricultural industry. So there is a Aspire program by the government which talks about or which propagates the scheme for promotion of innovation, entrepreneurship, and for the agro industry. So what they want, what should be the what is the scheme trying to achieve is to create new jobs and reduce unemployment in the agricultural sector, to promote entrepreneurship culture in the agricultural sector. The grassroots economic development should be there at the district level, and to facilitate innovative business solutions for the unmet social needs. Okay, so innovative business solutions in this sector to promote innovation to further strengthen the competitiveness of this sector in the MSME sector. So here the type of assistance is very novel, it's very unique, which is one-time grant of 100% of the cost of plant and machinery. So whatever plant and machinery these agriculturists are buying, so one-time grant of 100% of the cost of plant and machinery, other than land and infrastructure. So you cannot buy any land, you cannot buy any building with the funds, but only plant and machinery one can buy, or an amount up to 100 lakhs. So the amount is 100 lakhs, whichever is less shall be provided. So it will be either less. So you can actually get your entire plant and machinery sanctioned up to 100 lakhs. Then one-time grant of 50% cost of plant and machinery, other than land and infrastructure, or 50 lakhs, whichever is less, shall be provided. So this scheme is again very, very important. The Aspire scheme for the agro industry, this is a very crucial scheme because it provides a hefty amount of the funding for the procurement of plant and machinery, at least 50% of the cost of plant and machinery, or 100% also in certain cases. Then there is another scheme, which is the Spurti scheme of the government of India, where this is a revamped scheme of fund for generation of traditional industries. So the scheme activity that is being provided here is to organize the traditional industries and artisans into clusters. You remember I was talking about the cluster programs earlier, that for a specific industry or a specific cluster of entrepreneurs in a particular ecosystem, they have cluster-based funding options as well, which are being provided by the government. Now we are talking about that here, where we are talking about a particular cluster of traditional industries. Okay, for the entrepreneurship, for channelizing the entrepreneurship culture in India. Okay, so to provide sustained employment for the traditional industry artisans and the rural enterprises. So for example, if you happen to go to this Rajasthan side or even any state of India, you would find that in the remoter areas, there is a cluster of artisans which you will find. Every state would have their own peculiar art form, or the artisans which are creating different kinds of textile, which are creating different kinds of art, pottery, and these kind of handmade products. For this is the traditional Indian craft industry, I would say. So there is a cluster of people generally cluster of gharanas which are carrying on this business traditionally. This is called the traditional industry. That's why. So, for example, if you go to Barmer in Rajasthan, you have those traditional ajrak prints where they create beautiful ajrak textiles and other kind of handmade products because there's a cluster in Barmer and they are famous for their ajrak handprints. So such clusters which comprise the traditional industry of the traditional art forms of our country to enhance the marketability of the products that they manufacture in those clusters, to strengthen the cluster governance systems uh, is the reason why the government has launched this scheme. And the nature of assistance that is being provided to these cluster artisans or cluster of traditional industry is soft interventions, which is maximum of 25 lakhs of funding is being provided, or 100% of scheme funding is being provided. Then there are hard interventions, wherein, as per the project requirement, up to 75% of the funding is provided, of the entire business expenses being provided as a funding. And the cost of technical agency is up to 8% of the soft and hard
Hello.
interventions or the 100% of the scheme funding. And let's remember, this is all collateral free. Executive is up to rupees. Eligibility criteria here is the NGO. You cannot be a private company because you see in today's date and time there are many startups which are centered around these selling of the handmade products, procuring it from these traditional clusters and selling it online, offline, and through various exhibitions and other places. So therefore, firstly, the eligibility criteria under this scheme is that they should be only NGOs can apply, only not-for-profit organization can apply, and any private corporation or any private company is ineligible to avail of this subsidy under this scheme. So this is the Spooty scheme or the revamped scheme for funding of regeneration of the textile industries in India. Now let's talk about the certain labor and employment schemes which are there. Which is there is there's a apprenticeship training program which facilitates the youth for imparting practical training.
Hello. 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 Ma'am, you are not audible. Hello. Ma'am, are you there?
Requirements of the skilled man. So different kinds of craftsman training to impart skills in various vocational trades to meet the skilled manpower. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Now you are audible.
Acha, now you can hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. So I just repeat that I was talking about the yes. I just repeat that I was talking
Yes, ma'am. Please repeat before 2 minutes content.
about the which
Get-
is the apprentice. Yeah. Am I? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Carry on.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. You are audible. You carry on, please.
Okay. Sure. So there is this uh, uh, apprenticeship training program wherein The idea of launching this scheme is to feed industry for imparting, and there is a skill development in 34 districts by the government. Then there is a skill development initiative which is there called the SDI, and there is so the craftsman training programs are being launched to impart skills in various vocational training programs, through various vocational training programs to meet the skilled manpower requirements for technology and industrial development and growth by the industrial training institutions, the ITIS. So the ITI, or the the industrial training institutions are training the youth of a particular state. Or another scheme which is relevant and which most of the members must be aware of is the which most of the members would be aware is the capital goods scheme, the CGS, or the capital goods scheme. So what this scheme entails is the common engineering facility center may be set up by the local industry, wherein the integrated industrial infrastructure facilities for machine tool industry provide an ecosystem for manufacturing of machine tools in the industrial cluster. So the nature of assistance which is being provided here is the central assistance will be by way of a one-time grant. Okay, one-time grant, which is a grant which is not an equity, not exceeding 80% of the project cost, subject to maximum of a amount of 50 lakhs for 2 common engineering facility centers. Okay, one-time grant, which is again non-equity, not exceeding 80% of the project cost, subject to a maximum of 125 crores. Then a central assistance will be up to 100 crores from DHI during the pilot phase. And the central assistance will be by the way of one-time grant up to 25% of technology acquisition of each technology. Maximum amount given shall not exceed 10 crores, and the funding support will be through the government R&D institution. Okay, so this is also a very, very important scheme, which is the capital goods scheme, which is being launched by the government of India. Then there is a SETU program. The SETU program talks about the self-employment and talent utilization. And this is a techno-financial incubation and facilitation program. So I repeat, SETU is a techno-financial incubation and facilitation program, which is there to support all the aspects of the startup businesses and other self-employment activities, particularly in technology-driven areas. What is the kind of nature of assistance which is being provided under this program is an amount of rupees 1,000 crores is being set up initially in the Niti Aayog for the SETU. This amount will initially rest with the Niti Aayog, and then it will be utilized for setting up the incubation centers and enhance the skill development. And it also aims to create around 1 lakh jobs through the startups. So if you're most of the members here might be aware that there is also a Atal Incubation Center, or the Atal Incubation Program, the AIP, which is being launched under this program, wherein there is a grant of up to 5 crores and going up to 50 crores for an institution, as well as having the eligibility of a certain area of space being available where the incubation is being set up, and the government gives it per incubation center, which is called the Atal Incubation Center, or the AIB. We have various AIBs all across India. I think the number is close to I think 20 to 30 is the total number of AIB which are there in India. And these AIBs are being set up. It could be an existing facility which to whom the grant is being provided, or it could be a government generated facility. The disbursement happens from the government of India, and then per AIB can, depending upon the category of the startup, they provide various facilities. For example, the concessional occupancy of the premises the training programs, the concessional rent, which they charge, or they also up to 15, up to 50 lakhs per startup. They can also disburse the funding to a particular startup, which is being housed in that particular incubator. So right now, the program which is running in the country is the Atal Incubation Center, which also the AIB facility which is there, they can also impart the funding, which is a collateral free funding to a particular startup, depending upon their eligibility, and which is maximum up to the amount of rupees 50 lakhs. Now, then there is a enterprise development scheme, which is there. So here, how does the enterprise get developed? So as the name suggests, the scheme envisages the marketing research and information network where 100% grant is being provided. The strengthening of the EGMA grading facility, where again 100% of the grant is being provided. Then development or strengthening of agriculture marketing infrastructure, grading and standardization, wherein up to 25% of the capital cost is being provided. Now this Gramin Bhandar Yojana, or a capital investment subsidy for the construction and renovation of rural godowns. Here, the subsidy up to 25% is given to the farmer, 15% is of the project cost is given to the company. Then there is a small farmers agricultural business consortium also, where the agricultural business development happens, jahan par financial assistance is given up to a maximum ceiling of rupees 5 lakhs. So the assistance to the NCDC programs is being provided for the development of the cooperatives and the establishment of agri clinics and agri business centers, where the 100% of funding is supported by the Government of India. Now let's talk about the SEPC, or the let's talk about the exports. The exports, how are they being assisted by the Government of India? So the Export Credit Guarantee Corporation of India has launched certain schemes, wherein the Export Credit Insurance Scheme is there, or the ECI is there, where the small exporters policy has been launched for the exporters with anticipated export turnover of below 5 crores. So any exporter who has an export turnover below 5 crores, they are eligible for the SEP program, where 12 months insurance policy is being provided to the small exporters on the revenue, on the exports. So the 12-month insurance policy for small and medium exporters with 90% coverage of loss, and the limit of the loss could be 10 lakh rupees. So whatever margins they have on the export up to 10 lakh, or the 90% of the coverage is being provided by the scheme, by this SEP scheme, Small Exporters Policy Scheme. Then there are also certain schemes for specific to the industry, where we talk about the Indian Leather Development Program, which is there, where the infrastructure push is provided for the development of the needs of the leather industry to catalyze the promotion of the exports of leather from the country. Then there are certain tea board schemes which are there to propagate the tea industry in the country, where the participation in the international fairs and exhibitions are being sponsored by the tea board, where financial assistance for providing is being provided to the companies which are into the tea business for the doing the trade exhibitions or the or other overseas trade exhibitions along with the Tea Board of India. And also from India origin. So a brand support scheme for the Indian exporters has been launched by the Tea Board. So this is a scheme which is specific to the tea exporter or tea manufacturer industry of the country. Similarly, there is a Spice Board, the Spice scheme, which is being launched by the Spice Board of India, wherein the promotion of the spices brand abroad is being facilitated by the government through the interest-free loan of up to 100% for getting the slots, 50% for their product development, and subject to a ceiling which is there. Then also certain specific schemes for the North Indian states where the spice processing actually happens, that is being provided, wherein up to there are certain limits of up to 25 lakhs for processing the facility which is there for the farmer groups or for other beneficiaries. Then there are international trade fairs or meetings which happen overseas to facilitate the distribution or the exports of such spices from India. The Spices Board of India has certain schemes for doing the concessional trade fairs outside, or they could also do is reimbursement of 50% of their airfare with limit as per the individual exporter, and for delegations or 50% reimbursement with a ceiling of 1.5 lakhs per exporter or per delegation for an international exhibition. So these are the schemes which are being launched for the propagation of the specific industry and for propagating the export in a specific industry by the government of India or by the various boards set up under the government of India, like the Tea Board of India or the Spices Board of India. Now let's also talk about the let's also talk about certain related schemes where even the chartered accountants are contributing. For example, let's talk about the certified filing centers which are being launched, the GEM portal which is being launched by the government of India, which is operated by professionally qualified personnel bodies like the MCA or the ICI, where the in the CFC's e-filing or the online platform basis through the use of digital signatures to improve the speed and ensure the transparency and certainty of the delivery, which is there. Then the Ministry of Corporate Affairs has launched this CFC. Now, any cost accountant, any chartered accountant, or any company secretary, any CMA can become part of this portal, and you can also you have to apply to the economic advisor or the MCA to become eligible for this, but you have to offer your services at a very concessional rate. Similarly for the GEMS portal, similarly for the other portal which is for the trademark and the intellectual property. So these are the platforms which are there to enable the startups or the MSMEs to function in India, where the professionals can go and register, but the only eligibility criteria is that they have to give the services at a very concessional rate. They do not have to charge for any refilings or any inadvertent delays due to the filings. You cannot charge them beyond a point. If you do not, it's a success-based fee mostly in these portals, but these are being launched to support the startup and not the professionals, but making the professionals part of the system in aiding and assisting the eligible MSMEs. So I can go on and on. I mean, there are many schemes. Let's quickly also talk about the Mudra Yojana, because I think it's the most basic scheme for most for the MSMEs, which are mostly eligible. Most of the entrepreneurs would get eligibility under this Mudra scheme. And if you would see the success stories of the Mudra scheme, you will be astonished. There are many success stories here. It gives especially the push to the women entrepreneur, where Mudra stands for the Micro Unit Development Refinery Agency, or the refinance agency, where the refinancing for lending to micro businesses and units. For example, there is a loan starting from 50,000, which is the Shishu loan. Then there is a Kishore loan from 50,000 to 5 lakhs. And then there is a Tarun loan, which is from 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs. And it is eligible. All small businesses are eligible. So for example, if you want to start a bakery business, you want to start a boutique business, you want to start a small home salon, so one can really apply for the Mudra loan. The applying criteria are also quite not so stringent, and you get the, mostly the people are able to get it with a good credit rating and, good track record, you are able to get this loan up to 10 lakhs. And mostly the small business owners are availing of this loan from the State Bank of India. The success rate is most, but even the other public sector banks are lending. Now let's talk about the rehabilitation of the six industrial units, where the assistance is provided to the sick units, and the assistance for the rehabilitation of the potentially viable sick MSMEs. This scheme is being launched. Potentially viable MSMEs who are sick, potentially sick, or the cottage or village industries can apply to the SFCs or SIDCs or the banks, and they can avail of this scheme. So with this, with this I complete my deliberation for today. They mind you, there are many schemes. This is I have just touched the tip of the iceberg, because the schemes that I talked about are mostly the main schemes which we are aware or we practice in as professionals. But there are many more schemes which are there, both industry specific. The state schemes I have not even touched upon. Certain KVIC schemes are also I have not touched upon. So, and industries also, like the poultry industry, or you say the garment industry, the VC industry, the credit link capital subsidy. I mean, there are so many schemes that I have not talked about, but yeah, they are also part of the ecosystem, and one needs to keep on exploring depending upon the needs of the. And so many women schemes are there. I think it is a 20 women schemes which are being launched, which I have not talked about at all in today's deliberation, because I think there's a separate session which can be taken on only women centric schemes which are being launched by the government. There's a whole 200 document pager which is being launched by the government, wherein all those government women centric schemes are being talked about. So yeah, if we get to even start with one type of industry or one type of uh, uh, one type of a state, maybe then it can easily take 2-3 hours time to discuss in detail about each scheme in a particular state also. So therefore, I have just touched upon the main schemes firstly, which are mostly the centralized schemes which are there, and which we already either are using or we are advocating to our clients, or we have already witnessed. So I have just today given an overview about the central schemes. So with this, I rest my case, and over to you, the committee members of of our esteemed MSME committee.
Thank you, Parul ma'am, for valuable insights and valuable knowledge from your side. On behalf of everyone here, I extended our sincere gratitude to CA Parul Agarwal ma'am for insightful session on the government schemes for MSME in India. Your expertise and knowledge have truly enriched our understanding of these schemes can benefits to the small and medium enterprises. I would also like to express our heartfelt thank to CA Dheeraj Kumar Khandelwal sir and Raj Chawla sir for their valuable guidelines and support in organizing this seminar. Let's look forward to more enriching session in future. Their leaderships and dedications to the MSME sectors are commendable, and we are also grateful to their efforts in making this event possible. Ma'am, there are 8 to 9 questions with me. Can we take it? Hello,
Hello, yes.
ma'am. We have 8 to 9 questions with us. Can we take it?
Yes, please. That's why I ended the session earlier, so that we can take up the questions. They're more important.
Yes, ma'am. C. Dipankar Roy is asking, what are the schemes in IT, constructions, and healthcare sectors?
Yeah, so in the IT, the one that we already talked about, so there are certain common scheme. For example, when we talk about IT, we are talking about innovation. So relating to innovation, I mentioned a couple of schemes, and also the incubation centers which are there. They are for the companies which are IT centric. So if you have to get for example, if you have to get a seat in the incubation, in the incubation center, then probably one of the main criteria are the IT innovation that the business can generate, and second most important criteria is the employment generation. So therefore, one of the basic things is that if you are a eligible IT company and you have the DPIIT registration, you can there's a ease in getting the DPIIT registration also. First thing. Second thing is you can get this you can be covered in the credit guarantee scheme also. But for that, you have to be 2 years into the within 2 years you have to avail it. And thirdly, you can also get the access to the various incubation centers, which is the Atal incubation centers, which are already there all across India.
And second question is from Durgesh Palji. Why a platform like Civil for MSME industries not made by government, as there is a huge problem for regular payment in MSME?
Yeah, so I would say this is more of a policy. I think this is more of a policy question that you have asked. And even for such policy questions, there is a policy. One second. Even for such things, if I'm not wrong, there is a policy relaxation committee, which is there by the government of India. It is being formed by the government of India. By the policy relaxation committee is mostly they pass the orders for the relaxation or relief that are being relating to the uh, to the uh, to the to the policies and procedures. So I think you can view the policy relaxation committee or the PRC committee of the DGFT. One can go and explore that to be able to put this up, because it's a genuine problem. I think I'm sorry I didn't cover it in the introduction I was giving, that all these rating agencies, they do not rate the MSMEs, and there's a genuine problem in the taking of collateral free loan also. So it's actually a pain point which I missed to cover in the introduction. But yes, I think the answer could be the PRC committee. We really take it up before them and we make a deliberation before them. Yes.
Ma'am, third question is from Suresh. And any recent changes with regard to provision of Income Tax Act and GST affecting MSME sector, also financing without collateral any provision?
See, most of the schemes that I talked about today, they were, collateral free financing only. But the main catch is the eligibility criteria. As I repeatedly said, that most of the schemes, be it the capital guarantee scheme, be it the Mudra scheme, they're all collateral free. You don't need collateral for them. But the main thing is the eligibility. Firstly, you have to go to the public sector banks. There are certain banks which are more prominent in releasing the funds than others. Okay. For example, for the credit guarantee, SIDBI is the right institution, but they require very robust documentation. If you do not have that, it's very difficult to get the loan up to 40 lakhs or 50 lakhs, which is collateral free. The second is SBI is very prominent, as I said earlier, with the Mudra loans in comparison to other banks. Now, even the private sector banks also have the provision for Mudra, but mostly it helps more if you go to the public sector bank. The next question, which relates to the changes in the Income Tax Act. So last that I have seen is that 43BH is the one of the only change which is there for the disallowance of the MSME expenditure in the books of a company which fails to pay it in the particular financial year, and subsequent allowability whenever they make the payment in the next assessment year, in whichever assessment year the payment is being made. So this is the one that I'm aware of, and it is not being repealed, not being taken back. It is very much right now. It is very much in function. Yeah. So this is
Ma'am, next question is from. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So this is it from my side. You can ask the next question, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question is from Shubha Chaturvedi ji. How to convert from micro to small if a company has crossed 5 crore turnover?
This kind of query I have not. I'll just write it down. But this kind of query is little bit out of context from today's agenda also, and practically I have not really been a part of this kind of a query before. That if your threshold shifts, then what you do is something that needs to be seen. I think one of the repercussions that I can see is that you become eligible to 43BH. That is there, which was not there for the small ones. So once your eligibility changes, accordingly, you have to notify your Udyam Aadhaar registration to your prospective vendee, wherever you are a vendor. I think this is one of the plausible things I can see. But apart from this, what else you need to do? If you have to upgrade it in your Udyam registration, that would be another step. And apart from this, I don't foresee any upgradation with the income tax department or anywhere else, because they are generally driven by the PAN number and the GST number, where this kind of threshold criteria or turnover thresholds do not apply. So I think the only upgrade you would require would be either at the a GEMS portal, if you are already registered on the GEMS portal for various services or products, and at the Udyam Aadhaar registration. I think these are the two places where you need to upgrade. Yeah, the next question, please.
Now next question is from Preeti Chadda Sani ji. She said, can you tell few financial schemes so that she can write it down and study after this seminar? Some few financial schemes.
See, so Riddhi ji, thank you. This is a very relevant question that you are asking, but it is also a very, very comprehensive one as well. I mean, if we could take actually close to 2 hours in just touching upon, as I said earlier, the tip of the iceberg, then probably if I start only taking the scheme names, it will take me another 15 minutes. Let me assure you that what best I can do is that apart from sharing my PowerPoint presentation, which unfortunately I am unable to carry right now, but my team is parallelly working on it, I can share the copy of my research material, which is the different schemes I have seen, but I had to ignore because I just couldn't make them part of it, or of our today's discussion. I can share that as well, which can be circulated. For example, I talked about the women's schemes which are there. Some of them are called off, some of them are still there. So I can just share that with you, which could be helpful for your further reading and development of expertise in this subject. I hope this suffices.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question is from Uma P. Any loan scheme for food business?
Yeah, for food there are schemes. Even though I have not just hold on. I have not discussed them at large, but there are schemes relating to food as well. One is the T board that I talked about, that they assist you in give up to 75% subsidy, or sorry, reimbursement of your travel cost and your stall cost if you do international, if you are eligible and you do the international exhibitions. So similarly, the Tea Board of India is there. This is the food industry, I would say, processed food industry. And then there is so there are certain, so Khadi doesn't fall here, but yeah, there are others for food. Right now, I'm unable to recall. There is a GIC certification or something. So I need to yet to check the name. There is some certification which happens. I think it's a GIC certificate, which you can even get it on the food products if they're from a particular place. For example, the Bihar, the makhana is very famous from the Bihar. So if you get it GI certified from the state of Bihar, then you can get a better price for your product. That is one kind of a scheme which is being launched by the government. I'll come back to you more on this, but similar schemes are there for the protection of the food industry as well. So yeah, it's a good topic to deliberate and to research further. But yes, of course, there are schemes which are food centric. Yes, one of the schemes that I just discussed today was the Tea Board of India. The Tea Board of India scheme that I just discussed.
Can we proceed for next question, ma'am?
And the Spice Board of India. Yeah. So there are two schemes that are discussed in today's discussion. I'm sure there are more, and I'll try to research and come back on this as well.
Ma'am, next question is from SKG. What are the subsidies a company can get and eligibility criteria for that?
See, it's a very generic question. All that I would say out here is that, for instance, if you take the Mudra loan, then it is not easy for you to take the uh, the the uh, the the credit guarantee scheme. So it is not that one company or one enterprise can get multiple subsidies and it can totally survive on subsidies. So you have to be, or if you get the ISO certification, then you are eligible to other reimbursements also. Yeah, of course, there are certain schemes which can be paired up with other schemes. For example, the trademark scheme, which is there, through which you can take a very concessional trademark, you can apply and you can get it, and you can get expert help there. You can take the help of the incubator program, and as well as you can take the help of the credit scheme. So similarly, you can pair up certain schemes, but then there are schemes where if you take one scheme, then you become ineligible for another scheme. Okay, and I will also share this credit guarantee scheme, the entire scheme, the government notification with you guys. You'll be able to better appreciate. They're actually defined ineligibilities for enterprises who have availed other schemes. So the scheme document itself contains the limitations or the ineligibility of a particular enterprise which has already availed another scheme. So therefore, you have to read the scheme technically, very in a very technical manner, and accordingly take a call. It is not that one can have maximum, but of course, one can have maximum only if under professional guidance and under professional opinion you take it. Like for instance, there's a chartered accountant like me and you who's actually deliberating, making notes, and then checking the eligibility criteria, checking the eligible borrower, the lender, the scheme document, and accordingly we chart out a plan for a particular enterprise. Of course, it is possible, but for one enterprise, in taking many schemes is not possible.
Thank you, ma'am. And next question is from Vinay Sipani ji. What are the subsidy schemes for MSME in West Bengal?
For MSME?
MSME schemes in West Bengal.
Yeah, so as I said at the start of the discussion itself, that I'm not covering the states, because if I get into states, every state has a very enlarged structure of schemes. So since it's outside the domain of today's discussion, probably I would not like to comment on it. But yeah, one can research and have a separate session on it altogether.
Okay, ma'am. Next question is from Pritam Shahji. What is the SME IPO?
SME IPO. Okay. So
Yes, ma'am.
SME IPO is when you do not want the debt funding for your company and you want to use public money, then you go for an initial public offering. There are two types of initial public offerings. First is the dilutive one, and the second is the non-dilutive one. So the dilutive one is where you are diluting your own stakes. If you have any old shares, for example, you are the holder of 100% shares of your company, 99% of your company, you want to dilute, say, 5% or 10% shares, then that is a dilutive. You offer your old shares to the public for subscribing. That is the dilutive offer. Then there is a non-dilutive where you issue fresh equity. If you issue fresh equity, you create more shares in the market, and that you are selling it to the public. So this is what an IPO is, very broadly. So you have to give the red herring perspective. You have to get the DHRI. You have to get it approved by the SEBI. Once the SEBI approves it, then you can launch the IPO. There are price constraints which are involved. There are market elements which are involved, and you have to do it in with the help of professional assistance only. But yeah, this is when you want to use public money. You do not want to use more debt into your business, and you want equity partners, public as equity partner in your company. Then you go for IPO, and that's what broadly we understand from an initial public offering.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question is from Palak Gupta ji. How to apply under technology upgradation scheme under CLCSS?
Sorry, could you come again? This question.
How to apply under technology upgradation scheme under CLCSS?
CLCSS. One second, just hold on. Let me just check.
Hello.
Yeah. So for applying, as I said earlier, you can be a sole proprietor, you can be a partnership firm, cooperative society, or a private or public sector company, right? And special push is being given to the women entrepreneur. What you need to do is that you need to approach the bank, possibly the scheduled cooperative banks or RRBs, which are the regional rural banks or the state financial corporation, and you have to apply. For applying, you need to show them that okay, that this is the technology upgrade which you are proposing, through which this is the amount of subsidy that would be required, and you have to give them the breakup of the eligible the breakup of the percentage which you are commanding from that scheme. Okay, the capital subsidy that you are commanding, for which is equivalent to the price of the plant and the machinery. So you have to apply actually before the banks in this case, which are the defined banks under the scheme, which are the scheduled cooperative banks, RRBs, and the state financial corporation.
Okay, ma'am. Second question from Palak Gupta is CLCSS subsidy of 15 lakh on machinery still in operation.
Sorry, come again.
Ma'am, CLC subsidy of 15 lakh on machinery still in operation.
Yeah, I just missed it. I missed your voice. Hello.
Ma'am, 15 lakh subsidy on machinery in CLCSS scheme is still in operation.
Is free in operation means?
Still in operation. Is it active right now, this scheme?
Yeah, it is not 15 lakhs. It is up to no. It is up to it has enhanced up to 40 lakhs, and from 40 lakhs to 1 crore. It is not only up to 15 lakhs. It has enhanced. It is the limits are being revised.
Is still in operation, ma'am?
Yes, that's correct. It is
Okay.
still in operation with the revised limits.
Okay. Now we have concluded all the questions. Ma'am, can you wait only for 2 minutes? If there is any question from participants, then they can ask.
Yes, sure.
Only wait for 2 minutes. If someone have any query, then please post on the portal on the ICI. We are waiting for 2 minutes. Ma'am, one more query. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yeah. Yes, I can.
One more query from Jayaramji. Where does one get information about the scheme? All the notifications and benefit, etc.
Yeah, so I'll share with you the list of the nodal agencies which are there in your area. Okay, so I can share the relevant link and you can go and meet them. And as I said earlier, there's a demarcation between the SME and the KVICs. So you can actually go to their centers and find out more about the schemes. They will educate you overall, and they also keep on having these educational programs at their nodal agencies wherein you can get the relevant training. So yeah, so I'll share the link of the of all these nodal agencies where you can get more information about it.
Okay, ma'am. Now, wait a minute.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for
Thank
the
you, ma'am.
patient listening. I hope that
Thank you for being here and for your valuable time. I sincerely thank to you from my side and all the participants of this session. And I would also like to express my heartfelt thanks to Sir Dheeraj Khandelwal sir and Raj Chawla sir. And we will also look forward to more enriching session in the future also. Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you,
Thank
Gaurav
you very
sir.
much. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Gaurav sir.
Divyanji.
Thank you, Parul ma'am, for your valuable time, for giving an awesome lecture
Ma'am,
session.
if there is possibility, then please share your PPT to the ICI team.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
yes, sure. I'll share the presentation as well as the relevant links which are there, which will be helpful for the members.
I'm really thankful to you. Due to some reason, your PPT has been corrupted, and you have also share your valuable time without any PPT. It's very difficult to share insights without PPT. Then please, when PPT will be recovered, then please share ICI team, and ICI will share your PPT to all the participants.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, it has happened in the past as well, but the presentation I generally shared with the ICI committee also, and I generally share all my presentations on LinkedIn as well. So generally, all my presentations are always in public domain. Yeah,
Okay, ma'am.
because
Okay, thank
our
you.
yeah, because the effort of my team also gets recognized when the product is out there for everyone's help. I mean, there is no use keeping it with us. It's just that it was in a very unfinished form and unreviewed form, therefore couldn't be presented before the forum, before the committee. But yes, it will be shared very soon.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Divyangji. Thank you,
Thank you,
Dheeraj
Gaurav.
Khandelwal
Thank you,
sir,
ma'am.
and thank you, Rachala sir. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, Jai ICI.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, sure. You can end. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Divyangji. Thank you.
Thank you, Texum.
Can I leave?
Yes,